We're following up after President Donald Trump pardons those convicted of crimes connected to the attack on the Capitol on January 6, 2021. NBC Montana investigative reporter Bowen West looks into how the decision is impacting Montanans and speaks to a Dillon man who regained his freedom.
In January, President Donald Trump granted a sweeping clemency to over 1,500 individuals who were charged in the connection to the January 6 Capitol attacks, one of which is Montanan Henry Hank Mincer. Muncer reportedly joined a mob that went into the Capitol building. Prosecutors said he engaged in physical confrontations with law enforcement officers in the Senate chamber and the rotunda. For those actions, he received a 24-month federal prison sentence. Before going to prison, he released a video saying he fully expected a pardon when Trump assumed office. And that prediction came true. Tell me about your response when you hear about the pardons. I mean, how do you react to that?
Well, I was more excited for everyone else than I was myself,
Muncer, a business owner in Dillon, wears his beliefs on his sleeve, and notably, the outside of his appliance store. He compares January 6th to being invited to a house and then being accused of breaking and entering. You had a certain sense of humor, a sense of outspokenness throughout this entire experience. Why is that?
Because people need to hear the truth, because otherwise the media and everything else that runs with whatever stories create the picture and people believe it. And how you brainwash people is repeat the same thing over and over again, whether it's true or not.
He told me he doesn't regret anything. He did come away from the experience with a few hopes, such as changing the judicial and prison systems, as well as a desire for everyone to hear his story. NBC Montana finished our interview and let Muncer catch up with friends and family, but the story doesn't end there. While we were wandering around town, we bumped into him again. He wasn't sure if his record was totally expunged, and he knew there was one way to get the answer. He invited us to tag along.
You're like front page news.
I know. So now I went down and talked to the sheriff. I talked to the FBI, Secret Service, where they can buy a gun because my thing is cleared up, But nobody can tell me.
He figured the fastest way to determine the extent of his pardon was to attempt to purchase a gun. And before long, Muncer received his answer.
Can I show this? Nothing personal on there, is there?
No, not until I put the number on.
I've been denied, and yet here I am pardoned, and I cannot have my rights back yet, even though I have a full pardon. Then the concern is now is, can we even possess a gun? If we have one on us, where are we at? I mean, that's really a disconcerting situation because no answers.
Yeah.
And everything should be restored.
Visit our NBC Montana YouTube page for our full interview with Henry Hank Muncer. Reporting in Dillon, Bowen West, NBC Montana.
In the Mountain West, there are over 15 million acres of public land across 13 states. Once inaccessible due to private property surrounding public land, this recently changed after a decision by the 10th Circuit Court. But where does that leave Montanans? NBC Montana's explores corners, crossings, and the legal gray area of accessing some public lands.
You've obviously got two sides. You've got sort of a traditional culture in Montana of hunting and fishing and public land access. At the same time, private property rights are really important as well.
In Montana, data shows roughly 3 million acres of public land are blocked from public access. In Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming, some access was recently granted, but in Montana, cutting through corners remains murky. This all started with Manifest Destiny, when railroads were coming west. Congress divvied out checkerboard layout of properties to railroad companies. The parcels were never given back but sold off or passed down over time. Now in 2024, we're still dealing with these checkerboarded swaths of private and public lands.
We look at checkerboard as a problem, and it can be, but if you look at checkerboard as a way to actually increase your access at corners, it could be a really good thing, right?
So what's the easy solution? Well, to use a ladder like this. From one piece of public land to the next. This is called corner crossing. According to Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, the action is unlawful. It's created a contentious debate for those seeking recreation in public lands. I asked FWP if unlawful meant the same thing as illegal. The agency says if their wardens see evidence of corner crossing, they refer to a county sheriff. From there, it's up to them to issue a citation and ultimately up to a county attorney whether or not to prosecute.
It's still up to the discretion of the county attorney, right? The law is not written that makes it illegal. The law is not written that makes it legal. The department was wrong. This administration is wrong about corner crossing. It is not illegal in Montana.
The burden of proof for trespass changes for hunters, putting them at the forefront of this issue. For example, in Wyoming, 4 hunters faced off in federal and Supreme Courts against a large elk ranch that claimed they trespassed by using a ladder to corner cross. The elk ranch claimed up to $7.7 million in damages.
And the case that the federal judge picked up was actually a civil case. In that case, the landowner sued them for $7 million because he said he had exclusive and private right to public lands and that the value of his land was being diminished. And that's something I kind of have a problem with.
This is a black and white issue for property owners. To them, it's trespassing. Charles Deneau, the executive director of United Property Owners of Montana, believes the law is crystal clear on the matter.
Well, if we diminish one person's property rights, we diminish everybody's property rights.
Deneau said there are options in Montana to access blocked public land, including requiring easements, land swaps, and an exclusive program in the state that grants tax credits for landowners who provide access. To him, friendliness trumps all, believing simply asking will get people far.
Where we see a problem is there's some people that don't want to ask permission. They just think that they have a right to go wherever they want. And, those bad actors are the ones that really have driven this issue.
As of now, county attorneys have the final say on whether corner crossing sees its day in court. The Missoula County attorney says in his 11 years, a corner crossing case has yet to come across his desk.
Still go a long ways to a knock on a door or a friendly call asking for that permission, and you might not even have to get in a corner crossing situation because they're going to say, let me unlock the gate and you can just drive through my land.
For the foreseeable future, corner crossing continues to slip through the cracks of law. Many are worrying that the days of a hello, six-pack, and a promise of the bounty are going to be replaced with contract agreements, liabilities, and a pay-to-play system. Now, make sure to visit our homepage at NBC Montana for our full article on the subject, as well as our extended interviews. Reporting on public land, Bowen West, NBC Montana.
First, an alleged claim by Montana's Attorney General Austin Knudsen saying he asked his Republican opponent to run in the primary election so Knudsen could raise more money. Earlier this week, the Daily Montanan was first to report this, and now NBC Montana's investigative reporter Bowen West started asking questions to make sense of it all.
The Daily Montanan reports that in leaked audio from an event in Dillon on May 11th, Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen told the crowd that his primary opponent, Logan Olson, filed to run against the incumbent Attorney General so Knudsen could raise more money for his campaign. According to the article, Knudsen described Montana's campaign laws as, quote, ridiculous, saying that's why he asked Olson to run against him. On Wednesday, the Attorney General was in Missoula attending a law enforcement memorial. After the event ended, I tried to get Knudsen's side of the story.
To answer a few questions that I have regarding just the Daily Montanan article that came out yesterday.
Not today. This is about the law enforcement memorial. That's why we're here.
Okay.
I don't even want to take away from that today.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Not today.
Knudsen left shortly afterward. The senior advisor for his campaign sent the following comment regarding my request, saying, "We are in 100% compliance with the law. If Darrell Ehrlich or any other Democrat operative thinks we've done something wrong, I welcome them file a complaint with the Commissioner of Political Practices." I reached out to Knudsen's opponent, Logan Olson, to get his perspective. He did not respond to my request for an on-camera interview. I also sent the following questions via email. Did Attorney General Austin Knudsen reach out to you personally to ask you to run against him? Yes or no? If so, when? Do you believe Knudsen asked you to run against him to bolster his campaign funds? According to state campaign finance reports, you've raised $0. Why is this? Why aren't you taking this race more seriously? I did not hear back by news time. On Thursday, Political Practices sent out a formal complaint against Knudsen and Olson, filed by Sheila Hogan, the executive director of the Montana Democrats. Hogan told NBC Montana she filed the complaints on May 9th. Now Knutson and Olson have until May 23rd to respond to the complaint. Then the Commissioner of Political Practices will review the complaint and responses. Hogan's complaint indicates her preferred outcome is that Knutson would return the money and Olson's candidacy would be invalidated. I also spoke with the Commissioner of Political Practice to see if the accusations are illegal. He said he would have to conduct the investigation before giving a definitive answer.
Without conducting the investigation, have people go through the party or through the process and understanding what the parties have to say about the matter. Very hesitant to, answer a question that basically reaches a legal conclusion.
The commissioner said Political Practices reviews laws in Montana Code Chapter 35, which handles election and campaign practices. The Daily Montanan's article points to several laws in Chapter 35, including one that prohibits falsely filing for office and another that prohibits a candidate from influencing other candidates to run. I posted links to all this information on our homepage, NBCMontana.com. I'll continue to follow this story and let you know what happens next, so stay tuned with NBC Montana on air and online. Reporting in studio, Bowen West, NBC Montana.